नमो नारायणाय ॐ नमो नारायणाय ॐ नमो नारायणाय. Hello, devotees of Chicago Kalibari. Today again Professor Subramaniam and Mrs. Vidya Subramaniam, they will be doing the fourth session of the glory of the great goddess. You see, the goddess means Adi Shakti, Durga, Kali Ma, Parvati, whatever the name. She has got what do you call infinity names. That's what it is. And with this, let me hand over the mic to Professor Subramaniam.
Namaste. Welcome to session 4 of the glory of the great goddess Devi. We are happy to continue this series. As usual, we'll begin with a short prayer. Gajananam Bhodaganati Sevitam Kapita Jambu Balasara Bhakshitam Umasutam Shoka Vinashakaranam Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Sankaracharya Madhyamam Asmat Acharya Padyantam Padhe Guru Paramparam Om Sri 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 Shantananta Vatuta Gurave Namaha Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om
Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om Parashakti, Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om.
I'm starting this session with my most humble namaskarams to my two great gurus from whom I've learned many things. As you see in the picture, one is Pujya Sri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati, popularly known as Mahaperiva, the 68th Sankaracharya of Kanchi Kamakoti Peetam. I once had the honor to receive him with Purna Kumbham. And the other you see, the Swamiji with a beard and black hair on the right side is Sri Santananda Swamigal of Pudukottai, Bhuvaneshwari temple, who performed many Chandi Homams. He had solemnized our marriage and he continued to be my guiding force and inspiration throughout my life. I learned many things from these two great gurus and feel blessed to share many of the teachings in this August forum. As usual, we will quickly review what we learned in the previous sessions. In session 1, we presented the glory of goddess in Devi Mahatmyam, one of the greatest scriptures on Devi. In session 2, we presented the story of Lalita Devi's avataram with examples of Devi Upasakas and made an introduction about Lalita Sahasranamam. And in the previous session number 3, we had explained the beauty of Lalita Sahasranamam with examples of a few key verses. And we highlighted the power of Devi and the Sri Chakra, both of which are secrets. And in this session number 4, we are going to present another scripture, highlights of it. It's a scripture called Saundarya Lahari. In other words, it's the waves of beauty. As usual, we continue this service in this particular series with a very important observation of the world's many living religious traditions. It's only in Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma that such an extensive worship of Devi, the divinity in the female form, can be found. It's very rare. There are so many of these. The Devi Mahatmyam says, Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Buddhi Rupena Samsita Namastasai 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 Namo Namaha. It means to that goddess who dwells within all beings in the form of buddhi or intellect, I offer my namaskarams again and again and again. So Devi appears in myriad forms, worshipped in poetic verses of praise since many centuries. We covered some highlights of Devi Mahatmyam and Lalita Sahasranamam, and we continue with more. The fundamental meaning behind all of these scriptures is the recognition in Hinduism of divine energy as a feminine force, what is called Shakti, which literally means energy or power. As you all know, Shakti or energy takes a variety of forms. I am an environmental professional, so I can say it takes the form of solar, wind, nature, creation, all kinds of movement, including mind and the strength, as well as the power to dominate or destroy. Likewise, worship to goddess today takes place in almost infinite variety. You can find this infinite variety in different kinds of temples and different kinds of forums, different kinds of names. So the life force may take the form of health, healing from disease, the auspicious growth of plants even, abundance of food, marital happiness, health, birth of children, wealth, success in work activities, intellectual and artistic skills, and victory over one's enemies, as you see Kali Devi and Durga Devi emerging victorious after killing the demons. So, going a little further, there are many sostras or hymns on Devi. Amongst these, there are 3 superlative stotrams in praise of Mother Goddess. I have arranged them chronologically. The first being one of the oldest, really, Lalita Arya Dvishati. As the name indicates, Dvishati means the 200 slokas, a piece by sage Durvasa. And number 2 is Saundarya Lahari by Sri Adi Shankara, who had composed it. It's 100 slokas. And thirdly, Panchasati, as it's called. As the name indicates, 500 slokas by the great poet Mukha. Now, what do these scriptures say in a nutshell? The first one is Lalita Arya Dvishati. It's also called Lalita Stavaratnam. It's a complicated treatise by sage Durvasa, one of the oldest ancient saints. It gives you a detailed description of the chakra, Sri Chakra, in the form of Mahameru. He gives us a spiritual experience of the Almighty Goddess in the Arya Dvishati. You can visualize Goddess Lalita Mahatripura Sundari and all of the associated Devis and Yoginis of the Sri Chakra in this scripture. It's believed that sage Durvasa worshipped Devi Vishnu Durga in my native village of Maharajapuram I see inscriptions on the walls of the temple to the effect that sage Durvasa worshipped there. The second one, which is Saundara Lahari, literally meaning waves of beauty, is made up of two parts. The first part, which is a 41 sloka piece, brought from Kailasa itself by Adi Shankara, and the 59 piece, which was filled up by Adi Shankara himself to make it a total of 100 slokas. The third one, which is called Panchasati, Mukha means dumb. I do not know what his name was before, but Mukha was believed to be deaf and dumb, and he was a cause of big worry for his parents. Every day, Mukha would go and sit before the deity of goddess Kamakshi in Kanchipuram and will keep on staring at her, not saying anything. But one day, it so happened he started all of a sudden reciting Sanskrit slokas, and everybody got surprised to see him. So the news reached the Pidadapati, the Kanchi Sankaracharya at that time, and the Sankaracharya called him over, and he thought he was the best successor for him. So he became eventually the 20th Sankaracharya of Kanchi Kamakoti Peetam. This was somewhere in 4th century. So the composition by Mukha is called Mukha Panchasati. It is a very powerful stotram, and the slokams reciting has brought significant changes in many children who are suffering from dumbness and other speech problems. Now, Saundara Lahari is the crowning glory of all these three, and it is a beautiful poetry. Whether we understand the meanings or not, the very attempt of reciting or even singing it, many people sing it today, produces the needed bhakti. Now, this is the kind of word power that this blessed poetry has, and the vibrations of the words produced gives us the material as well as the spiritual success. The word Saundaryam, as many of you know, means beautiful, and it pertains to Sundari. And Sundari is a Devi's name. In Sanskrit, the word Sundari refers to any lady with Saundaryam, meaning beautiful. And Mahatripura Sundari itself has got the word Sundari in it, and both derived from the root name Sundari. Of the main names of Devi, there are many names, mostly ending in A or E. Like, for example, Vidya, Sita, Durga, Bala, Lalita. All these end in A, and there are quite a few names which end in E, like Parvati, Kali, Lakshmi, Bhuvaneshwari, and so on. So it is a Sundari name that goes with Raja Rajeshwari, which is the Queen of Queens. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa once said that I have seen many forms of Devi, but I've never seen one more charming than Tripura Sundari. The beauty of Saundara Lahari is that the name Tripura Sundari or any of the synonymous names of the same form like Lalita or Raja Rajeshwari or Kamakshi, they don't occur anywhere in the text, including its title. The title is Waves of Beauty. It doesn't say like Lalita Sahasranamam. So it is something unique. Another very interesting aspect of this is other descriptive names of Devi like Shiva or Uma or Sati or Parvati, Chandi. They occur only at one or two places. They are not very common. And generally, many of the attributed names like Janani, Mata, Amba, which mean either the mother or goddess, which commonly go with our feminine deity names, occur at a very few places. Even they are very, very few. So it is something very special and unique. And we'll talk more about Saundarya Lagari, one of the greatest creations on Devi's power and beauty by the great Adi Sankaracharya. But before that, I'd like to say a few words about Adi Sankaracharya. Adi Sankaracharya, many of you know, was a great saint. He be remembered for this great philosophy of Advaita, but he had made many, many commentaries or bhashyams, as they are called, on Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu Sahasranamam. Tremendous amount of work has been done on that. And his composition on Bhajagovindam and Saundarya Lagari are very popular. There is a story in Markandeya Samhita that Adi Sankaracharya went to Kailas and he got 5 lingams and the Saundarya Lagari from Lord Shiva himself. It is said that on his way back, a part of it was snatched away by Nandi Deva, but Acharya got almost half. He got about 41 slokams, and the rest of them, 59, he wrote himself to make it 100. So the first part of 41 is called Ananda Lagari, and the subsequent part is really called Saundarya Lagari. So you have a list of works I have just jotted down on the slide. You have the Saundarya Lagari is one, Gaudi Shatakam, then Kamakshi Stotram, Kanakadara Stotra, which he composed as a young brahmachari, Lalita Pancharatnam, Annapurna Stotram, Sri Meenakshi Pancharatnam, so many more. These are only a part of it. He has composed many stotrams on Devi, and he has composed many bhashyams, and he's also composed many songs like Bhajagovindam. In fact, he's composed Bhajagovindam in praise of Lord Vishnu, even though it is believed he was avataram of Lord Shiva himself. His guru was Govinda Bhagavatpada. So you have many connections of Adi Sankaracharya with Govinda and the mother goddess too. So I want to just ask Vidya to say a small prayer about Adi Shankara.
Prakriti vilas manohar Kerala Kaladi vasaratah Sukitah Shiva Guru Ruttama Vibrakulodbhava Avasutam Yamuna Namaha Pramudita Shambhuvarena Shivam Shayutha Bhuviyasya Bhavo Bhajani Guruvaram Shankaram Agyatama Shamubhodadayo Pranamami Sada Guruvaram Shankaram namaami sada.
So with this short prayer song to Adi Shankara, I'm going to tell you more about Saundarya Lagari. The first part, as I mentioned, Ananda Lagari, 41 of them, it tells the secrets of Mantra Shastras, the Kundalini Yoga philosophy, the secrets of Sri Vidya worship. The later part of 59 slokas, Saundarya Lagari, dwells on the beauty of the great goddess Devi. There have been more than 36 commentaries written on Saundarya Lagari, and one of the most famous one in that is written by Sri Lakshmi Dhara. The Saundarya Lagari verses are set in a Sanskrit meter called Shikharini. Shikharan itself means peak. It is a unique meter, wonderful meter. It has 17 syllables for each of the 4 lines. In fact, Kalidasa's Megha Santesham also is set in the same meter. As you all know, Kalidasa got his poetic powers from Kali herself. So the very first stotram we are going to be reciting now, it is a stotram which starts with the word Shiva, and it joins Shakti, the most potent name of Devi, namely Shakti, and it becomes Shiva Shaktya. Shakti means energy or power, and it is the absolute Brahman's power that Devi personifies. So this name itself tells everything about the goddess. It comes in the very beginning, but never after. Surprising, isn't it? Comes in the beginning, but never after. Of the 100 slokas of Saundarya Lagari, each one of them is said to have curative powers against many a disease and misfortune. So each sloka is a mantram by itself. So let us begin with the very first slokam, and Vidya is going to be singing that slokam.
शिवशक्त्या युक्तो यति भवति शक्तः प्रभवितुम् न चेते एवं देवो न खलु कुशलः स्पन्दितुमपि अतस्त्वा आराध्या हरिहर विरिञ्चादिभिरपि प्रणन्तु स्तोतु कथमकृतपुण्यः प्रभवति
What a beautiful verse to start with. Shivasaktya yukto yadi bhavati shaktaha. Only when Shiva is united with Shakti, Shiva Deva is capable of performing his cosmic function. He cannot make even a move. Skusalaha spanditumapi. He cannot even move a bit indeed. If that is the case, how can anyone who does not have punya, akrita punyaha, last line says, Katama krita punyaha prabhavati. How is it possible for anyone without punya or who does not sing pranantum stotum va, who does not worship? How can anybody without punya become adequate? Asma aradyam. How can anybody without that punya be eligible or possible to worship you? And who is that person? Which says, Asma Aradyam Harihara Virinchadi Virabi. One who is worshipped by even Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. Harihara Virinchadi Virabi. So such a person is called Parabrahma Shakti. The word Shiva, supposing you remove the vowel I from it and bring the consonant SH to the first position like SHA, Shiva becomes Shava. That means without the I, which is the ending letter of Shakti, I, Shakti I. If the I is not there, Shiva becomes Shavam. So it is a point that Acharya brings out that Ambal helps him to perform his cosmic functions. Without her, he cannot. So it is something very unique in our tradition and culture that both are required. Shiva, Shakti, a man and a woman. They are considered equal. It's called samam in Sanskrit. In fact, that is the origin of the word samaya. There is also what is called samayachara. Samayachara. In Hindu culture, the Shakta and Shiva scriptures, you have this word samayachara, which is the path that denotes worship, devotion, arising from the bottom of the heart, samayachara. So it goes to say that men and women have equal rights, but need to work together. Men alone who have enormous power, but they cannot get the full potential of it without women. In fact, in many of the rituals, a man alone does not have the right to perform them. He has to be joined by his spouse. It's still done that way. Therefore, it is very, very important that Shiva Shaktya Yukto, the union or united effort of both Shiva and Shakti, is what produces the result. So this is a beautiful verse which brings out that point that Shiva is helpless without Shakti and both have to be together. So there is the Shiva Kameshwari. Kameshwaran, Kameshwari. I explained it in Lalita Sahasranamam. Same thing is also here, that Shiva Kameshwari represents the united power of Shiva and Shakti. There is a beautiful song to this, composed by a great composer, one of the Trimurtis, called Dikshidhar, Muthuswami Dikshidhar. He had composed many songs on Devi, and I'd like Vidya to sing one of them, which really brings out the power of Shiva Kameshwari, Shiva Shakti both together.
Shiva Kameshwari Chintaye शिवकामेश्वरीं चिन्तये ॐ शिवकामेश्वरीं चिन्तये ॐ शिवकामेश्वरीं चिन्तये ॐ शृङ्गार रस संपूर्ण करी शिवकामेश्वरीं चिन्तये ॐ शृङ्गार रस संपूर्ण करी शिवकामेश्वरीं चिन्तये शिवकामेश्वर मन प्रिय करी शिवकामेश्वर मन प्रिय करी चिदानंद गुरु गुह वश करी शिवकामेश्वरी चिन्तये ॐ शृङ्गार रस संपूर्ण करी शिवकामेश्वरीं चिन्तये शांत कल्याण गुणशालिनी शांत कल्याण गुणशालिनी शांतादीत फल प्रदायिनी शांत कल्याण गुणशालिनी शांतदीत कला स्वरूपिणी माधुर्य गानामृत मोदिनी मदालसा हंसोलासिनी चिदंबरपुरीश्वरीं चिदग्निकुंड संभूत सकलेश्वरीं शिवकामेश्वरीं चिन्तये ॐ शृङ्गार रस संपूर्ण करीं शिवकामेश्वरीं चिन्तये
A beautiful composition by Dikshitar. It says, if we want to just give you a little bit of meaning for the song, Shivakameshwarim Chintayaham. That means I reflect upon the goddess Shivakameshwari, who brings out Sampurna Sringara Rasa, means brings out the fulfillment of the Sringara Rasa. Priya Karim, she fascinates me. She fascinates the mind, mana. And she is serene, Shantam. You can see the face is Shantam. She's auspicious, Kalyanam, Gunas, qualities. She Atita, she transcends the tranquility, and she is the presiding deity of Chidambaram, Chidambara Purishwaran, and he is the goddess Ishwarim of the universe, Sakala. And as Lalita Sahasranamam, we said, Chitakripunta Sambodha, she is born from this fire of consciousness, Chitakini Gunda Sambodha, which we have explained in Lalita Sahasranamam. So this is a beautiful composition which talks about how the Shivakameshwari connected between Shiva and Shakti. He is so beautifully endowed with so many qualities. So only qualities are described in this verse, as well as in many of the other ones which we are going to now recite. They are all gunas, attributes of Devi, no names at all. So we'll go to the next slokam, verse 2 now.
Aliyam sampamsum tava charana pangeruha bhavo virilchi sajava virajayati lokan avikalo Vahatyenam shaurihi katamabi sahasrena sirasa haraksam kshudyainam bhavati bhajati basidhot dulana vidim
Taniyamsam pamsum. Pamsum means dust, you know. Dust, where does it come from? Charna pankeruha bhavam. It comes from your lotus feet. Taniyamsam is a fine dust that comes, that arises out of your lotus feet. Virinchi refers to Brahma. Virinchi sanchun viracheti lokana vikilam. So the power of the dust of the holy feet of the mother goddess is gathered up by Brahma, and he creates lokana avikalam, creates the world. Vishnu Sagasrasirsha Purha Purushaha Sahasracha Sahasrapat says the Purusha Suktam. So Sagasrena Sirasam refers to Vishnu here somehow. Similarly, you have the Shiva Haraha Samsuktam. Haraha, last line, Sam Shudshadainam, which means having shaken it up. Bhajati Basidot Dulana Vidim. What does he do with the dust? He gathers the dust and uses it as ash. You know, the vibhuti. Bhasati Vidit Dulana Vidim. He wears it as a ritual. So by this slokam, what it means is, by the grace of Devi, the three great divinities, Virinchi, Brahma, gathers of the dust and uses it to create the world. And Vishnu somehow, with his 1,000 heads, he maintains, and Shiva uses it for his ritual of wearing vibhuti. This is the kind of praise, the power of just the dust that arises from Devi has got so much of power. It helps Brahma to gather up, create world. Vishnu insists on he bears somehow with all his 1,000 heads, and Shiva, he accomplished it with his ash wearing, vibhuti wearing rites. So it may sound to be a little philosophical, but that's what it is. It is philosophical to highlight the power of Devi's feet and the dust coming out of it. Going further, verse 3, let's see what is in it.
Avidyanam antastimirmihira dvipanagari जटानां चैतन्यस्थपकमकरन्त श्रुतिझरी दरिद्राणां चिन्तामणिगुणनिघा जन्मजलधौ निमग्नानां दंष्ट्र मुररिपुवरहस्य भवति
The third verse also is an extension of the second verse. It praises the power of Devi, her qualities, her attributes. Avidyana means to the person or to one who is not instructed, who is not knowledgeable. She is the Dvipa Nagari, which means the light city. Where is it? It is Mantaspira Vihira. It is placed in mid-ocean. The Dvipa Nagari means driving away the inner darkness with light. Jadanam, Jada means one who is inert, who is such a person. To him, the sweetness, Makaranta Srutijari, it oozes out with certain blossoms, having the effect of expanding the mind, because he's inert, his mind is not active. Dharidrana means one who is poor. For a poor, Chintamani Gunaniga Janma Jalada, it becomes like philosophers' stones. So it becomes a brood for them. Nimagnanam Damshra Muraripu Varahasya Bhavati. Varaham is the Vishnu's boar, which really brought out the Vedas. So for those who are submerged in the ocean of birth and death, she becomes the tusk of Vishnu's boar. In other words, this is a slokam which says it is the rising sun like for the darkness of the ignorant. Devi Deepanagari, she removes the darkness. The flower bunch which gives out the honey of wisdom for those who are kind of dull-witted, and the wish-fulfilling gem for the poor. So it gives the meaning that Devi blesses them with all those who are not instructed, those who are dull-witted, those who are poor. For all of them, she is able to help them out in different ways. That is the gist of this third slokam. So we are not going to cover the entire Saundarya Lahari, but I'm just giving you highlights, some of the very important verses, the first three. And the next one, which is one of my favorites, and it is a very, very important part of Saundarya Lahari, it is verse 22. And I'm going to ask Vidya to sing that again.
Bhavani Tvam dase Mayi vitar Drishtim Sakharuna Iti Sotu Vacha Katayati Bhavani Tvam iti yah Tadeva Tvam tasmai Tisasi nija Sayojya Bharavi Mukunda Brahmendra स्फुटमकुट नीराजित वदना
It's one of the rare pieces in Saundara Lagari. Kanchi Mahaperiva has explained these verses in detail. He has talked about it for hours and hours, which we can't do now. I'm just giving you only a little bit of what I gathered from him. It is a verse where Adi Shankara says beautifully, says how Devi blesses you instantly, just in a flash of a second, on just uttering the word Bhavani. Just say Bhavani, Bhavan, Bhavani. Oh, Mother Bhavani. Bhava is the name of Shiva, and the Shakti of Bhava is Bhavani. Tvam Dase. The moment you say Tvam Dase, I am your servant. Mayi Vitara Drishtim Sakurunan, please cast your glance, just a side glance, with compassion, Sakaruna, on me, Mayi, Itistotum Vanchan. On me, Dase, I am your servant. Vanchan means wishing. Sotum, to praise you thus. Bhavani Tvam Iti. Tadaiva Tam Tasmai. Then and there. Tadaiva means then itself. There itself. That is when you, before even you complete the remaining words, Dase Mayi Vitara Drishtim Sakarunam is even before you complete that sentence. Tvam. This is in Nija Sayujya Padavim. You grant me that Sayujya Padavi, the state of identity with the Mukunda Brahman, Mukunda Brahmendra, Vishnu Brahma Indra, Kuta Mukata Niraj the Padam, who are doing the ceremonial, showing the lights Niraj the Padam to Amba. The marvelous thing about this, the devotee has not even completed the prayer. And he says, Oh Bhavani, you please cast on me. I am your servant, your glance of compassion and grace. He has just said it. Oh Bhavani, you. That itself is sufficient for the goddess to pour her maximum grace of our own Sayujya status. It is, what is this Sayujya status? It is the privilege of the devotee to enjoy the worship of the gods through their, what he called Nirajita, to the divine feet with which there is now identity, becomes part of it. She is the queen of the universe, and she administers the whole universe through her own agents, Brahma and Indra. And those agents are who do this Nirajita. It is in that state of the individual soul that the Jivatma, or the devotee, becomes one with the Parashakti, with that Sayujya status. That is the Sayujya spoken here. There is a word of pun here, which Mahapariva tells so beautifully. Bhavani Tvam. You know, it can be considered as one single word. It becomes a noun. Then it becomes the state of being Bhavani or Parashakti. You know, it's like, I can give you some example. If you say Kavitvam, you know, Kavi itself is a poet, but Kavitvam is a noun which means poetic talent. You can say Amritatvam. It means the state of being immortal. So here it is the state of being Bhavani herself, Bhavani Tvam. So the moment the devotee says Bhavani Tvam, Devi takes it as a request for Bhavani Tvam, of being a Bhavani, and she grants him the Bhavani Tvam. In other words, she gives him her own status, namely the status of Sayujya Padavi, which is the one highest place one can ever dream. So Devi is such a compassionate, a graceful mother. So when a devotee seeks the identity with her, with just two simple words, Bhavani Tvam, she doesn't have to wait. She doesn't even wait for hearing more. She simply grants him the Sayujya Padavi, Sayujya status, then and there itself. That is the greatness which is brought out by Sri Adi Shankaracharya in this great scripture called Saundarya Lahari. It has many other waves of beauty in it, but we don't have the time really to cover all of them. This series, we are trying to bring out the highlights of many of these scriptures, each in one session of 1 hour or so, starting with Devi Mahatmyam and then Lalita Sahasranamam, and we have come to Saundarya Lahari. So I'm just pointing it out so that when you read it or listen to it, you can appreciate the beauty and the power of Saundarya Lahari. So this, you can hear it in the form of verses. It is also in the form of song set to different ragas. There are a lot of artists who sing this in different ragas. In all the cases, it will be very melodious to hear. At the same time, it will send in you those vibrations of bhakti towards Devi. The entire 100 slokas are so beautifully set. With that, I'd like to come towards the end of this today's presentation. What is the message of Saundarya Lahari? The first one is, of course, it is of divine origin. As I mentioned, it is said that Adi Shankaracharya, he got the Saundarya Lahari from Lord Shiva himself. And therefore, it is believed to be of divine origin. And what it says is Shakti is super. It is called Parashakti. Para itself means superlative, and Shakti is super. And it is a very, very powerful hymn of Devi, just like many others are. But this is more melodious, without really mentioning many names of Devi, unlike Salita Sahasranamam, where you have many names. In Devi also, the Mahatmyam, you have many names, but here, not many names are mentioned of Devi, but her qualities, her rupam, and the secrets of Devi are all mentioned here. So it is very tantric, and it is a mystical Parashakti, very hard to follow, not easy for people to understand. But there are many people, gurus, who explain the inner meanings. And to get the benefit out of this, what you need really is purity of mind and body. And you require, of course, intense devotion. Both are necessary. It is known by experience to resolve many problems, issues connected with job, issues connected with family, issues connected with health. All these are something which the Saundarya Lahari has been able to help address many issues like this, and it also eventually helps in self-realization. Many Hindu traditions and customs place women in the forefront in terms of the customs they follow, the role they play during the festivals, religious rituals. It's said that man without a wife does not have the right to perform many of the samskarams. So that's why wife is called Ardhangini. Ardhangini means better half. So for many of us, worship of Devi is a great source of pride and empowerment, which provides us a sense of control and command over our own lives. In fact, women in many Hindu households have long been compared to goddesses, often with divine names and spoken as Devis. Even our country, India, is called Bharat Mata, which is an icon of purity. It's often seen as the epitome of perfect Indian Hindu woman. So this is also a scripture which highlights the importance of women in our society. So with that, we would like to bring this presentation in session 4 to a conclusion with our own usual prayer. Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om Parashakti, Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om. Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om Parashakti, Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om. Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om Parashakti, Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om. Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om Parashakti, Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om. Namaskaram to everybody.
Thank you, Professor Subramaniam and Mrs. Vidya. You beautifully brought out, the Saundarya Lahari, each of the slokas, and then what is the qualities hidden there, that one. And this has been composed by, as he said, Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara composed it. It's all based on his experience and what it is, and what the power of the goddess is, that one. Again, he brought out, it's one of the very few things, I wouldn't call it religion in Sanatana Dharma, where women have been, kept at the peak of the pedestal, that one. If you see, the Ministry of Finance is managed by Lakshmi. The Ministry of Defense is managed by Parasakti. And the Ministry of Education is managed by Saraswati. What else you can ask for? These days, that one, the equality of women or what it is, that one, our Dharma has taught, that what the power is, that one. Again, the mere prayer, thinking about the mother itself, you don't know what kind of a miracle it can achieve, that one. He gave two examples, the one of Mukha, who was kind of an illiterate, dumb, he was a deaf and dumb of the 4th century, that one. Then he became a saint, A mere kataksha or a look of the Devi, it brought him, the immense power, and then he became a great Sanskrit scholar, Think about Kalidasa, for our northern friends, Kalidasa, who composed so much of the Sanskrit literature, and kavyas. He was a shepherd boy, see. And how he became, that one, is such a great scholar, that one. Mere grace of Devi, that was it, see. Similarly, if you think of Valmiki, what was he, before, that one, a mere look of, the goddess brought him Saraswati, that one. He became a great scholar, and the Ramayana was written by him, like that. See, how do we know that? That's what it is. We need, that's what the great saints, they bring out all these things from their experience. And the saints, they appear and come in the form from time to time, as Lord Krishna says, Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. You see, I come in different forms at a time where it is needed, And Professor Subramaniam brought in the example of our Kanchi Kamakoti Shankaracharya. I see. He came in the lineage of the Shankaracharya clan, or in that lineage, in the same, is a continuity of the thing. And he lived in this year. He was born in 1894, and then he was as a saint, the Pidadipati, almost a Chakravarti or a kind of an emperor of that particular thing, Kanchi Math. Till 1994, 100 years he lived. He became a kind of a sannyasi at the age of 16. I had opportunity to probably, I wouldn't call it spend, in this company for about 4 months, when I was 6 years old, somewhere in 1944, he came and stayed in our uncle's house. He wanted that house to be vacated, and he wanted to stay in the village for 4 months to do some kind of a punaruddharana or renovation of a Shiva temple. You see. I was kind of a school boy, and we were summer vacation there, that one. Probably at that time he was 50 years old, He lived until 100 years, and he has done so much for protecting the Sanatana Dharma. Say almost from 1906 or 1907, he was 16, when he came to the thing, until the last day, he did so much to preserve the Sanatana Dharma. See, when you think about that, India, how many rules change were there? It was under the Muslims, it was under the kind of the British and so many things. But the Sanatana Dharma, it is surviving, in spite of all those things. How can that happen? Because of this kind of people coming in, including our Pudukkottai thing. I happened to study in Pudukkottai for 2 years. My BCom, I did it. I stayed just in front of Bhuvaneshwari temple in those days. I'm talking about 1956 to 58. That one. Same. So these are all the people, who come and then protect our Sanatana Dharma. Again, you brought all these things so beautifully well. Thank you again. And then we look forward to our next topic on Sanatana, the essentials of Sanatana Dharma, tomorrow at the same time, 5 o'clock. Thank you, Mrs. Vidya and Subramaniam. Thank you.
Thank you.